Hello, World History B students from National University Academy. It's Mr. Goyette going over with you Chapter 33 of your World History Patterns of Interaction textbook for Unit 5. This will help you with the assessment as well as get you ready for our discussions in class. What I'd like you to do is review this, take notes as you go. You can use those notes to help you study for the assessment at the end of Unit 5. I have recorded this video twice and it's not sticking on YouTube, so I'm going to give it one last go. 1940s and 50s, what did the region described as behind the Iron Curtain include? And remember, we discussed Winston Churchill's remarks about the Iron Curtain and his belief that the Soviet Union had a very repressive regime that was preventing its citizens from being ultimately free and leading economically free lives. And so this is the Soviet Union and its satellite nations that he's referring to, and you can review this on page 967 of your text. You're also going to ask you what was the purpose of the Truman Doctrine, and you'll note that on page 968 President Truman's quote there discusses the support for countries that reject communism, and he says that he will help those countries by trying to not only support them militarily and economically, but to, as long as they continue to reject communism, he will assist them. What was the name of the alliance established by the European communist nations in response to NATO? This was the Warsaw Pact. You can review this on page 969. If you were watching 60 Minutes last night, you'll note that Secretary of War or Secretary of Defense Gates mentioned that NATO, the alliance, was not doing well in assisting the United States in Afghanistan to put down the Taliban in that region and bring forth a stable government in that area. Again, you can review this information on page 969, and that's the Warsaw Pact. Which two groups fought a civil war in China before and after World War II? You'll remember that these were the Nationalist and Communist groups. The Communists represented by Mao Zedong, and he's going to ultimately win that civil war. And on page 972, they review that with you. So go over, read page 972. It's the Nationalists and Communists. During the Cultural Revolution, who were the new heroes of China? Now, when we talked about Marx before, during our discussion of World War II and the ideologies that influenced the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, we talked about Karl Marx. His proletariat, the working class, was supposed to be, the rule of the country. They were supposed to, the working class people were supposed to step forward and take the means of production, the factories, the houses, the businesses, away from the imperialists. And this was going to lead, of course, to a freer nation where the working class would be represented. The Bolshevik Revolution did not ultimately lead to that. In Mao's version, the new heroes were the peasants, and again, the peasants and the proletariat are very similar in that the working class in this case are the peasants. When did the Chinese troops enter the war in Korea? This would be as the United States got close to or went over the Yalu River. You can review this on page 977. When they became close to China's border, that's when China realized its borders were being approached, and it put more support into helping the North Koreans. And pushed the United States back to the 38th parallel. Now that area is a demilitarized zone between North and South Korea, with Kim Jong-il being the dictator of North Korea. What idea was used to justify U.S. foreign policy during the Cold War? This was the Domino Theory. And the Domino Theory, you can review that on page 978 of your textbook. And let me go over that with you. The United States had supported France in Vietnam. With the defeat of the French, the United States saw a rising threat to the rest of Asia. President Eisenhower described this threat in terms of the Domino Theory. The Southeast Asian countries were like a row of dominoes, he said. The fall of one to communism would lead to the fall of its neighbors. This theory became a major justification for U.S. foreign policy during the Cold War era. Again, page 978. You can also review there Ho Chi Minh and more on containment with regard to Vietnam. I'm not sure how far I'm into this, so I'm going to do a few more and then pause there, make the video segments small so I can load them easily. What were third world countries? How were they designated at this time? This is on page 982, and the terminology is meant to be defined as developing countries not aligned with the United States or the Soviet Union. Countries that were aligned with the Soviet Union or United States fell under the protection of either one of those countries, and the covert wars were often waged in those countries. The non-aligned states, like India, didn't really want to pick a side, so to speak, but they were constantly being influenced by the United States and Soviet Union nonetheless. Which exiled leader led to the religious opposition to Western influence in Iran? This is the Ayatollah Khomeini, and Khomeini is spelled Khomeini. This is on page 986 of your textbook. The Strategic Defense Initiative was a system to protect the United States against enemy missiles. What economic system was used to reshape China's economy after the Civil War? This is communism. One example of that being the Great Leap Forward under Mao Zedong. This is reviewed on page 974 of your textbook. Which of the following work together to produce similar goals? Truman Doctrine and containment. Actually, the Truman Doctrine came out of the philosophies of containment, the idea that you wanted to keep the Soviet Union within its borders, you wanted to keep China within its borders, and grow democracy. So this foreign policy led to the Truman Doctrine. You can review both of these on page 967 and 968 of your text. I'm going to pause here and make sure I stay under 10 minutes so I can load this presentation for you. Please take notes, rewind, review. Use this as a study tool to do well for the Unit 5 assessment, and I will talk to you all soon in class or online. Have a good day. Bye.